Federalist No. 31, Concerning the General Power of Taxation, continued, January 1st, 1788, by Alexander Hamilton, from the Federalist Papers. In disquisitions of every kind, there are certain primary truths, or first principles, upon which all subsequent reasonings must depend. These contain an internal evidence which, antecedent to all reflection or combination, commands the assent of the mind. Where they produce not this effect, they must proceed either from some defect or disorder in the organs of perception, or from the influence of some strong interest, or passion, or prejudice. Of this nature are the maxims in geometry, that the whole is greater than its part, that things equal to the same are equal to one another, that two straight lines cannot enclose a space, and that all right angles are equal to each other. Of the same nature are these other maxims in ethics and politics, that there cannot be an effect without a cause, that the means ought to be proportioned to the end, that every power ought to be commensurate with its object, that there ought to be no limitation of a power destined to effect a purpose which is itself incapable of limitation. From these principles it follows, that if the federal government is to be charged with the care of the common defense, it ought to possess all the powers necessary to accomplish that object. To deny this would be to render the government incapable of fulfilling its duties. It has been objected that the power of taxation, if granted without limitation, could be abused. But this objection applies equally to all powers of government. There is no authority that can be entirely free from the possibility of misuse. The true question is not whether power may be abused, but whether it is necessary and how it is to be controlled. The Constitution provides for this control through representation and accountability. The people elect those who exercise the power of taxation, and they retain the ability to remove them if they act unjustly. Hamilton also addresses the concern that granting the federal government broad taxing authority would diminish the role of the states. He argues that the states will continue to have their own sources of revenue and their own responsibilities. The existence of concurrent taxing authority does not imply the destruction of state power. Instead, both levels of government can coexist and operate within their respective spheres. Ultimately, Hamilton concludes that the power of taxation must be adequate to the needs of the nation. Limiting this power too strictly would undermine the government's ability to provide for the common defense and general welfare. Thus, the general power of taxation is both necessary and justified by the principles of effective government. Publius. Brief commentary. Biblical constitutional perspective. Key principle. Necessary authority must be sufficient to accomplish its purpose, while remaining accountable to prevent misuse. 1. First principles of government. Alexander Hamilton begins with foundational truths. The means must match the end's power, must fit the responsibility. This reflects biblical wisdom. The plans of the diligent lead surely to plenty. Proverbs 21 verse 5. Sound reasoning and proper design are essential for success. 2. The reality of human nature. Hamilton acknowledges a critical truth. Any power can be abused. The issue is not eliminating power, but structuring it properly. This aligns with Jeremiah 17 verse 9, which speaks to the fallen nature of man and the need for restraint. 3. Accountability over elimination. Rather than removing necessary powers, the Constitution places them in the hands of representatives, subjects them to elections, keeps them visible and contestable. This ensures that power remains answerable to the people. 4. Balance between federal and state authority. Hamilton again reinforces federalism. Federal government handles national needs, states retain local authority. This balance prevents both centralization and fragmentation. Practical application for today: understand that necessary government functions require adequate authority. Focus on accountability rather than eliminating essential powers. Stay engaged in the political process to ensure responsible leadership. Recognize the importance of sound principles in shaping policy. Federalist No. 31 teaches that freedom is preserved when power is not denied, but properly designed, ensuring it is strong enough to function, yet accountable enough to remain just.